What a wonderful afternoon for a celebration. Welcome, Dean Schmidtlein, distinguished speaker Daryl Carter, our faculty marshal, senior lecturer and director of the Leaders for Global Operations program, Thomas Romer, our student body presidents, Hema Bajaj and John Mahler, faculty, staff colleagues, and of course, our MBA class of 2015, and a special welcome to their honored guests. We are honored that so many of you have traveled from around the globe today to help us celebrate this very special occasion. Congratulations. The purpose of our ceremony today is to bring you together for the very last time as the MBA class of 2015. We invite you to reflect on how these 2 years, they went by so fast. How did they transform each of you in a different way? How did they prepare you for the inevitable challenges that you will face as the principled and innovative leaders of the next generation? We have an opportunity today to also look forward and think about the tremendous positive impact that you seem destined to have on the world. Graduates, you are going to be called on, both professionally and personally, to improve the organizations you are part of, to improve your communities, to improve our world. The relationships that you formed with each other and with MIT and the MIT Sloan community are here to support you in these endeavors for the rest of your life. To begin today's ceremony, it is a pleasure for me to present to you your classmate, Shaun Githuku. Apparently, Mr. Githuku needs no introduction, but I am going to try to give him one anyway. Shaun was born and raised in Nairobi, Kenya. He moved to the United Kingdom in 2003, where he studied for his master's in chemical engineering from Imperial College London. Before joining MIT Sloan, Shaun worked for PwC and their transaction services team in Nairobi, where he worked on infrastructure and corporate finance projects across sub-Saharan Africa. At MIT Sloan, Shaun has been an active contributing member of our community. He was co-chair of the Africa Innovate Conference. He's a member of our Sloan Student Senate. And he has helped in his free time to develop a startup that addresses road safety in developing countries. After he leaves MIT Sloan, Shaun will be bringing his own personal style of principled, innovative leadership to the equity investment team at the CDC Group, which is the UK Development Finance Institution. There he will focus on infrastructure projects across Africa. Welcome, Shaun.
Ladies and gentlemen, family and loved ones, faculty and beyond, thank you for being so kind as to join us today in celebrating the end of an incredible journey. It is a journey that we have not traveled alone. It is a journey that has only been made possible because of the incredible sacrifices made by all of you. To our families, our loved ones, our friends, we are eternally grateful. Class of 2015. We made it. No more late nights at Beacon Hill Pub. No more mid-afternoon naps. No more AOG cases. And most importantly, no more frantic last-minute panics about tickets and visas to BVI. Who would have thought that 2 years ago, 400 men and women from across the globe would arrive at a little place in Kendall Square and forever have such an impact on one another's lives? The memories that we have shared will forever be tattooed on our arms and etched on our hearts. It is an honor to have called you my classmates, Sloanies. If you haven't noticed a recurring theme here already, I really appreciate our little Sloan community and my not-so-small family making all the noise in the crowd. I think you guys made them a little bit shy today. Now, if you can reach this far back in your memory, I'd like to take us all back to the first couple of weeks at Sloan. An oft-asked question reverberated across E62. Takeshi, Benga, Anna, tell us a fun fact about yourself. Now, I totally understand that not everyone likes to answer this question. But in my case, I loved those moments. I reveled in them, and I had to try my best not to wave my hand in the air like a third grader, because I may not have had all the answers to those questions in economics or analytics edge or DMD, but to that one question, ladies and gentlemen, I always did. The fun fact is, I come from a relatively large family. My grandmothers between them have 60 plus brothers and sisters. Yes, that is not a mistake, 60 brothers and sisters at last count. One grandmother has 17 siblings. The other, sitting in the crowd today, is the first of 47 from 7 non-warring mothers and 1 very ambitious father. A feat at the time, and one I dare not try to repeat. To make that crystal clear, that means that I have a grand uncle that is a year older than I am, as well as aunts and uncles that are likely yet to be born. I like to think that our little family accounts for at least 1% of the Kenyan population. Coming to Sloan has felt like adding to that already huge family. So if you haven't got the trend yet, today I am focusing on family. A Sloan family that taught us how to deal with a crippling phenomenon, the fear of missing out, or FOMO for those far cooler than I am. Thanks, Martine. You can't be everywhere all the time, as much as we all tried. A Sloan family that taught us what it means to be truly modest. Truly modest. So many of you came from around the world having already achieved so much and yet stayed so grounded. Some of you had built robots, successful social ventures, and even financial models with more bells and whistles than the circus. And yet, you stayed modest. A Sloan family that was so diverse and inclusive. Whether that meant dancing Bhangra at the South Asia Business Club C function, or a quiet, formal Korean barbecue. or even fighting our hardest against the EMBA's giant tug-of-war team at the Sloan Olympics. There was something for everyone, and no one was an outsider. And finally, a Sloan family that wasn't scared to try new things, whether that meant traversing the globe during the coldest winter on record, to take part in global entrepreneurship lab projects that helped businesses solve real-life problems, and as a side benefit, increase the number of likes on our Facebook and Instagram accounts. We formed bonds that will stand the test of time, and I think when you look around the room, you know what I'm talking about. Now, I want to share a story with you about how powerful this family has been to me. At the end of the first year of school, I was talking to my parents and my sister, as we always would. And on that day, they decided to ask many questions, but really, did you enjoy Sloan? It's been a full year. We barely hear from you anymore. Had you learned what you hoped to learn? Had you made some friends even? To those questions and many more, I proposed that on a scale of 1 to 10, it was a 13. As it's probably clear by now, Sloan has been an absolutely amazing place for me. For a kid that grew up in Nairobi and was now mingling in the realms of the future leaders of the developing and developed world, it felt, and it still feels, like a dream. So when last summer came, I set off on a new adventure, an internship in Senegal, working with a plucky private equity firm making its mark across West Africa. I had little to worry about in the world. I had found a new family to add to my own and could now freely focus on building my career. And on the first weekend, in a rickety bus, 3 hours outside the capital city of Dakar, on the way to a jazz festival, the bubble burst. The perennial optimism that had been a part of my very being was shaken to the core. I got a call from my parents, and my parents have always been my pillars of strength. And it was to say that my dad had been diagnosed with terminal pancreatic cancer. He was given 2 months to live. Barely 54 years old. He was playing golf the day before, balancing conference calls, and was in incredible shape. So as our family does, we all flew out to be with him, to spend time with him as he fought this extraordinary battle. We cracked jokes, prayed incessantly, and listened to Dad share his wisdom. But such as the world works, he was called to serve his purpose elsewhere and passed away courageously at the end of July. It was barely 2 months after he first found out. He was the greatest father, without a doubt, that I could ever have had, and the strongest human being I've ever known. A PhD in computer engineering, an international rugby player, an international swimmer. My father was the ultimate example to me. Some people feel that their fathers are indestructible. I was sure mine was. I was knocked off my feet. I promised myself that I would use the grief as a motivator, but it didn't work. I quickly realized that I couldn't do it alone. Truthfully, when I came back to Sloan, I didn't expect to be filled with the same drive that you all show every day, the same bravery, the same compassion and patience that defines a Sloanie. However, I was wrong. I rejoined a family that was hell-bent on building the future. You challenged me to dig deeper. You were determined to start your own businesses, reinvigorate great companies, and even push us to submit our kind of crazy 100K business plans. I didn't think I would make it to Christmas. However, you all led by example, and really, I had no choice but to follow. So to all you Sloanies, I have to say a really big thank you. As we venture now back into the real world, where mid-afternoon naps are no longer an option, and Thursday nights are actually still school nights, I ask that you take two things from today. First, keep and grow the Sloan family. Leaving here today should not mean the end of the great friendships we have made. Be there for one another. When you need help, reach out. And when you're ready to do something that scares you, we'll be there. And when you fail, we'll be there to pick you up. And on a day like today, when you succeed, we'll be there to celebrate with you. Second, I ask today that you show your future colleagues, friends, husbands, wives, partners, the same down-to-earth, high five as you pass me in the hallway, laugh with me optimism every single day that you have all shown me since I arrived at Sloan. You may never know how powerful that compassion is to someone that you meet every day. Continue to pay it forward so that those lives you touch are forever changed for the better, just in the same way that you changed my life for the better. Thank you, MIT Sloan, for giving us this extraordinary opportunity. And thank you, friends, for grabbing it with both hands. As we say in Swahili, familia wangu nimeshukuru, tuende kazi. They couldn't help it. My family, Sloan, my Kenyan family, I am oh so grateful. Now let's get to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Shaun. I think your words are a testimony not only to your own strength of character, but to the quality of character of both of your families. Now, we are very privileged to hear from another of your classmates. We have a very special musical performance, a prelude in E minor by Frédéric Chopin, as well as a Don Agustin Bardi tango by Horacio Salgán, performed by your classmate, Gabriel Frum. Oh, that was so beautiful. It just perfectly captured the joy of the day, I think. Now it is my pleasure to introduce our Senior Associate Dean for Degree Programs, Jacob Cohen.
Good afternoon, MBA class of 2015. It is an honor and a pleasure for me to be here today to celebrate with you this special occasion and to congratulate you on your achievement. I'd also like to take a moment to thank the friends and family members who have come here from around the world to show support for you, our graduates. Dear guests, without you, their success today would surely not have been possible. Graduates, let's give your family and friends a warm round of applause for all of their support. Becoming an MIT Sloan graduate is so much more than simply completing a set of academic requirements. It is an evolutionary process. Over the past 2 years, I've seen you go about your work as students. I've witnessed the interplay between academics, professional development, and community engagement. You have each chosen your path and along the way been influenced by many people and experiences in these collaborative community. The staff and faculty have had the privilege of watching you become principled leaders, interacting with you and providing you with the knowledge, the infrastructure, as well as the freedom to dream and set ambitious goals. All of us here today are inspired by you and are proud of you. In speaking with many of my staff and faculty colleagues, we truly feel privileged to be part of your development. I've solicited a few comments about you as a class that I'd like to share with you today. Professor Kate Kellogg, faculty chair of the MBA program, commented, every day I wake up and count my lucky stars to be a professor at Sloan. I love teaching our students, not only because they're so brilliant and engaged in learning, which they are, but also because I see them help one another and build the wonderful community we have at Sloan. Furthermore, I see many problems out there in the world today, and I know I can count on them to solve them. Professor John Sturman added, from the beer game through SIP, System Dynamics, and SLab, it's been a pleasure and a privilege to work with and learn from the class of 2015. The most rewarding part of my role as faculty member is having the chance to work with such talented, passionate, and committed people. You have already shown that our mission to develop principled, innovative leaders who improve the world is more than words on the wall. I can't wait to see how you all live those values as you commence the next stage in your journey to create a better world. Paul Buckley, who's loved by all, provided the following comments. It is a gift to be able to work with so many inspiring students. Their energy gives me energy. Working on new initiatives, sharing stories that end in laughter, and sometimes being a shoulder to cry on. The students' caring and compassion for their classmates in Sloan and their commitment to being responsible global citizens is truly admirable. But perhaps Professor Pittori said it best. We put 400 of you together for 2 years, and magic happens. The staff and faculty value the part that you've played in the MIT Sloan community, and I hope that you value the role that they've played in helping you on your personal journey. Whether it was the admissions team who admitted you back in 2013, a professor sharing her insights into a particular field, an advisor like Cassie Tucker helping you create a plan for your time at MIT, Sloan, and beyond, or a team of faculty and staff coordinating an amazing international action learning program, We hope your time here has changed you for the better. With your help, I'd like us to again take another minute to recognize the staff and faculty through the representatives that are here in the room with us today. Tomorrow, you will graduate and become MIT Sloan alumni, an incredibly powerful distinction that will help guide and shape you through the rest of your lives. Compared to who you were when you started the program, you should feel wiser, more confident, and better equipped to take control of your future and to achieve success. Going forward, I would strongly encourage you to stay connected to the school and become an active member of the alumni community. This will yield many future benefits for you as you advance in your career and leverage our strong and global network of MIT-wide graduates. As this is Convocation, perhaps I'm supposed to share some parting words of wisdom. My advice to you is this: be flexible and open to change. In business, the ability to adapt is crucial. As stated by Charles Darwin, whose name you'll see tomorrow carved on a building in Killian Court, it is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent, rather the one most responsive to change. I have no doubt that at MIT Sloan, in our MBA program, you've gained the tools needed to adapt to the challenges you will face in the business world and beyond. Here at the school, we will miss you, but we look forward to watching you as you go out into the world and make a positive difference. Congratulations again on your achievement today. Best wishes and good luck. Thank you.
And now, to offer his congratulations and to introduce our distinguished alumni speaker, I'd like to welcome David Schmidtlein, the John C. Head III Dean of the MIT Sloan School of Management, to the podium.
Welcome, faculty and staff, family and friends. Members of the MBA and LGO class of 2015, congratulations, but more than that, well done. You've been an exceptional class, and I do not say that every year, let me just say. You've been a noisy class, but you've been an exceptional class. We're a noisy class today. You've seen a lot of change in the external world in the 2 years since you've been here. Some of it good, some of it challenging. I have to tell you, we've seen a lot of change in you during those 2 years. I remember seeing you, many of you, for the first time during Admit Weekend, telling you why I thought MIT Sloan School of Management was the right school for you, and hoping that you would choose it. I think we were both right. The beginning of this program is supposed to be challenging, and it was. For many of you, it tested the depths of your resilience, analytic foundations in important subjects, learning to manage an incredible combination of commitments that you made, and trying to live up to the standards that you set for yourself in coming to a place like MIT. Beyond that first fall, you began to create your own path through this school. And in the courses you took, in the way that you performed in them to impress an amazing, second-to-none MIT Sloan faculty, represented here today by John Cora, Thomas Romer. But you also went beyond the classroom, working on action learning projects that, for many of you, took you not only around the country, but around the world. You developed, both as managers and leaders, through a variety of responsibilities that you chose for yourself and that we as a school needed you to take on, with the Student Senate, Dean Student Advisory Council, leading over 60 clubs, helping as pilots and mentors to develop this community, serving as passionate advocates for the change that you feel is needed in our school, developing trips and treks and conferences, competing in competitions, and making us proud. All of it is an important part of what I hope you will take away from MIT Sloan. This is a time of challenge. There are economic challenges, there are political challenges, there is a great deal of uncertainty. But you know that you are privileged. You're not just equipped with the tools that an MBA graduate has, but you are MIT Sloan MBA alums tomorrow. What does that mean? It means the ability to see opportunity coming out of complexity. It means the ability to lead innovative organizations through turbulent times. And for you, it will mean the ability to call on 125,000 MIT alumni around the world. I have no doubt at all about the professional success that lies before you. But you owe yourself, and the world needs, something more than that. And so, in addition to that success, I wish you lives of purpose and meaning. Many of you have heard me talk about the fact, and it is a fact, that MIT Sloan alumni have the opportunity for the courage of well-founded convictions. Going forward from this place, you're not just ready to join those alumni, you're ready to be them. Congratulations. And now it's both an honor and a delight to introduce our distinguished speaker for today, Daryl Carter. Daryl is the founder, CEO, and chairman of Avanath Capital Management. This is a firm based in Southern California that invests in conventional and affordable multifamily housing units. This firm, just over the last 2 years, has acquired over $300 million worth of those kinds of units around the country. Daryl is also the managing partner of McKinley Avanath, which is a property management company that manages affordable housing properties. Daryl has over 32 years of experience in the real estate sector. He's been recognized for his leadership in so many settings. I'll just mention a couple. He's a trustee of the Urban Land Institute. Daryl is executive committee member and chairman of the National Multi-Housing Council. He's the past chairman of the Commercial Board of Governors of the Mortgage Bankers Association. Daryl's also been a leader here in the MIT community. He has been, as an alumnus, by the way, he holds dual master's degrees, a master from MIT in architecture and also a master's degree from MIT Sloan School of Management. So in the MIT setting, he's been tireless in his willingness to speak on behalf of the school, to share his insights with school leaders, including me. He serves on the visiting committee for MIT's Sloan School of Management and also on the school's North American Executive Board. And Daryl has also opened up his treasure as well as his time to support this school in ways that have directly affected the experience that you, graduating students, have had here at the school. And I'd like to say something else about the character of Daryl's support for MIT. So I talked to you a little bit about the sector in which Daryl leads. You know that that sector went through some mighty tough times between 2008 and 2012, and Daryl was just extraordinary in the unwavering commitment to support MIT Sloan, to support you, even during the depths of the recession. Daryl Carter is distinguished in the world for his disciplined intellect, for his resilience and optimism in tough economic times, and for a set of values that I think you'll see. In short, he's an MIT Sloan alumnus. Please welcome Daryl Carter.
Wow, Dave, thank you so much for that introduction. I clearly missed an opportunity here. I flew all the way here to make this speech, but after listening to Shaun and his speech, you know, he's tall, he's handsome, you know, could maybe put the glasses on him. You know, I don't know what we'd do about the age thing, but you know, I could have snuck him up here and you could have done this speech. But anyway, I'm here, so I'll do it. First, a big congratulations to the Sloan MBA class of 2015. I know what it takes to sit where you are sitting. I sat there 34 years ago. I don't remember much about my graduation day. It was a blur of camera flashes and hugs. And by the way, those camera flashes, you had to take the Kodak film and develop it. But I also remember an incredible feeling of accomplishment. But I did have one of my most memorable experiences 2 days before my Sloan graduation. It was ironic that the great blues singer B.B. King died a few weeks ago. 2 days before my graduation, I went to Logan Airport to pick up my sister, Linda. We both immediately noticed this very elegant, well-dressed man standing by himself. We said, "Wow, that's B.B. King." My sister walked over and started a conversation. She told him that I was graduating from MIT. Mr. King then invited us to his sold-out concert that night and visited with us backstage. At the end of the evening, he gave me a big hug. He said, "Daryl, congratulations on your achievement. Education, once you got it, they can't take it away from you." So, here you sit, just as I did 34 years ago. No one can take your MIT degree away from you. So the next big question is, what are you going to do with it? As the dean said, I'm the CEO of what I did. I'm the CEO of a company that owns and manages apartments serving low and moderate income families. Ironically, B.B. King traveled the same path as my parents, all originally from Mississippi, during the time that there were few opportunities for African Americans in the segregated South. Many ambitious young African Americans like B.B. King and my parents, Nolan and Flossie Carter, moved northward in the 1940s and 50s to such cities as Memphis, Detroit, and Chicago. Nolan and Flossie moved to Detroit, Michigan to pursue the economic dream tied to the automobile industry. That was the start of my journey on Detroit's west side, in a working class African American neighborhood. While not picture perfect, my neighborhood provided a stable setting for my family to pursue the American dream, to own a house and motivate 2 kids to attend college and receive 5 degrees. Unfortunately, today, that neighborhood is plagued by drugs, violence, and poverty. In many respects, my journey has become full circle. My company owns and manages apartments that serve low and moderate income residents in places like my own neighborhood. We own 35 affordable apartment communities that comprise 7,000 units, which is home to over 25,000 residents. So what are the lessons I learned in this full circle, from the west side of Detroit to the owner and manager of communities within cities like Detroit and Oakland? Lesson number one, maintain the highest standards. This, of course, is a bit redundant to all of you. Graduating from MIT is indicative that all of you have the highest standards. This was instilled in me at an early age by my parents. Growing up in Detroit, many of our references pertain to the auto industry. My dad would say, "Be the Cadillac." I grew to love cars and the associated slogans. My favorite are Cadillac, the standard of excellence. Porsche, there is no substitute. Great lines, also great cars. Yes, these are a bit over the top, but you have to have some attitude if you want to be the best. In our efforts to transform affordable housing in the U.S., we apply a standard of excellence to this sector. Our communities are clean, safe, and well-maintained. We like to think that we're best in our industry in delivering quality to the affordable sector. The name of my company, Avanath, is named after my two children, Ava and Nathan. I have great pride in my children and that name. I want our investors, employees, and residents to associate excellence with Avanath. Unfortunately, Ava, Nathan, and my wife Renee couldn't be here today. It is Ava's graduation from the St. Margaret's Lower School. Let's have a shout out for Ava. My lesson number two, embrace failure. Unfortunately, I learned this lesson rather late in my career, and the dean alluded to it, courtesy of the recession that we had in 2008 and 2009. After launching Avanath in 2008, we came across a very large portfolio opportunity to acquire over 200 apartments. A group of investors and I put up $40 million in equity to acquire this portfolio with a very, very large bridge loan that had a one-year term. Remember, when you do buyouts, try to get longer than a year because you never know what's going to happen in the year. But anyway, we had anticipated we'd either raise public or private equity to pay the bridge loan, but of course, that didn't work, and unfortunate timing. We ended up with a major workout with the bank and ended up losing the portfolio and $40 million of equity, half of which was my family's nest egg. A major failure is humbling and depressing. Failure, though, can become a motivator. Failure became a motivator for me. Failure gives you the ultimate reality check as you are forced to reassess and take inventory. Failures can be transformed to success. I remember failing my first microeconomics exam at Sloan, which made me work a lot harder on the next ones. I can recall, embrace your failures and your weaknesses. I recall the words of my first basketball coach, and he said, "Son, you have two problems with your game. First, you only have one go-to move. Second, it's not very good." Those words, albeit a bit harsh, were definitely a reality check, and they helped make me a better basketball player. Our failure in 2009 provided me and my team with a clean canvas to rethink everything about affordable rental housing. We certainly could not achieve what we are currently achieving without experiencing that failure. Lesson number three, and I know many of you think that this is going to be the end of this next point. There is no such thing, in my opinion, as too much analysis. When you are creating new markets or transforming existing markets, you are always up against status quo, truths, norms, biases. In order to counter these, you need rigorous analysis, and compelling data. For example, we learned that the median income of a renter in the US is $35,000 per year. Our research shows that this renter wants to live within 30 minutes of his or her job or very close to mass transit. To be affordable, this renter should pay less than $1,200 in rent per month. Our analysis showed if we could deliver quality housing at that rent level, we would have very strong occupancies. We now own apartment communities near major employment centers, Disney World in Orlando, University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, DFW Airport in Dallas. Our portfolio's occupancy is in excess of 98%, and many of our properties have waiting lists of residents wanting to get in. Lesson number 4, and my last one, embrace diversity. The world is comprised of multiple cultures, ethnicities, and generations. I cannot think of a business or industry that can be operated today without a sensitivity to the vast diversity in our world. Many of our properties are highly diverse. We own a property in Long Beach, California, that's in a community that's 25% African American, 25% Latino, 20% white, 15% Asian, and 15% Pacific Islander. Part of our strategy to serve this diverse community is to have property and our executive staff that's also diverse so that we get what our residents want. But ultimately, our guiding principle is that there are far more similarities than differences, and that everyone wants to live in a safe, clean, and attractive environment. As a baby boomer CEO, my greatest diversity challenge is staying abreast of all the latest technologies that you 20 and 30-somethings use to navigate the world. I certainly rely on your peers within my company to enlighten me. And when I need more technical training, I turn to the experts in my house, my 12-year-old son Nathan or my 11-year-old daughter Ava. I then learn the nuances of Instagram or the songs of Iggy Azalea. You guys know who she is? I assume you do. One final point about diversity. While many of you might consider us baby boomers to be dinosaurs, please be mindful that baby boomers comprise 40% of consumer demand and 70% of household wealth. And we're liable to live a little bit longer, so you're going to have to put up with us for a while. But consider that there are lots of talented baby boomers that are retiring, some of which would be great executive hires for your exciting new technology startup. As you move on to your new endeavors, please consider that Google is a success because it serves the masses. Henry Ford did not invent the automobile, he made it affordable. Winning enterprises are built around solutions to problems that can impact the greatest number of people. I'm sure that all your heads are now filled with freshly learned business jargon, ROI, internal rate of return, all those kinds of things. So I thought I would just leave you with some jargon from my old neighborhood in Detroit, a saying that you will hear in many urban areas and on many hip-hop songs, and it's clean, it's not explicit. The saying is, don't hate the player, hate the game. Okay? Don't hate the player, hate the game. Of course, this means don't blame me, this is how the system works. The corollary that I have and that I like to live by is don't hate the game, change the game. There are many challenges in the world that will create fantastic opportunities if you have the attitude to change the game. Sloan MBA class of 2015, you have learned many things about management at Sloan. You have learned great things from your families as well as your communities. I wish all of you many successes in changing the game and making an impact on the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Daryl. You heard me earlier talk about MIT Sloan graduates as people who are able to take incredible complexity and from it to create business opportunity. If you think about the challenges in attracting high-quality, for-profit, risk capital to approve affordable housing in urban areas in the United States of America, that's something that a great Sloan grad ought to be able to do something about. And when you do, it's something that the school should recognize with the Dean's Award for Excellence in Leadership. And so, Daryl, in recognition of your exemplary and significant contributions as a principled, innovative leader who has improved the world, as the chairman and CEO of Avanath Capital Management, you've led the company with highly effective, progressive management techniques. You've set an example for ethical business practice. You've demonstrated outstanding commitment to our mission and ideals, including through your service to the MIT Sloan School of Management and MIT broadly. And you offer an inspirational example of thoughtful, enduring alumni engagement and alumni impact for our students and our community. Daryl, thank you very much. Please thank you.
The class of 2015 has created a short visual history to share their journey with us today. This video hopefully captures the richness and diversity of the past 2 years and the very special community that the class of 2015 has created while they've been here. That was wonderful. I'm going to miss all of you. It's clear that the world has not only been your classroom, but also your playground over the last couple of years. So finally, before we close this afternoon's ceremony, I'd like to bring up your class gift chairs. Sam Clark, Allison Reep, and Jason Shapiro have some wonderful news to share with Dean Schmidtlein.
Right. Thank you very much, Maura. I'm beyond honored to be up here to represent the 2015 Class Gift Committee. We're proud of what our class has accomplished over the last 2 years, but I think I speak for all of us when I say we're more excited about what we're going to accomplish in the future as engaged alumni of MIT Sloan. The generosity of our classmates, both individually and collectively, illustrates the way we feel about MIT Sloan, a place that has changed us and shaped our lives. It has been a pleasure to serve as Class Gift co-chair with these guys, Allison and Sam, and we're thrilled to be here today to present you, Dean Schmidtlein, with the Class of 2015 Class Gift. This year, we raised more than $77,000 in cash and pledges, and our 93% class participation commitment is evidence of basically how we feel about the school. It's evidence of our commitment in the future, and by the way, that's also a record by Convocation Day, so
Woo!
Not that we're counting or anything. So obviously we didn't do this alone, we did this with the entire class, and I'd like to recognize specifically the Class Gift Committee, if you guys would rise so everybody can see who you are and we can thank you for all the hard work that you've put in. Woo! While important, the class gift is only the first step in our commitment to engaging with the school as we go from students to alumni. I'm confident that our class will continue to be actively involved with the school through events, recruiting, mentorship, maybe a C function or two, and I'm sure that we'll continue this engagement that we've had with the school. Thank you, Class of 2015, for your spirit, your generosity, and your contributions to our class and to each and every one of our lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, committee. It's really an extraordinary testament to you as a class. It is not easy to come to that level of collective support for the school. It's important to me. It's important to the whole community, but especially it's important to the people who come behind you. I know it's difficult to imagine that there are any more MIT Sloan students coming after the class of 2015, but we have to keep going on. You benefited from the support of prior classes. This tells them, it tells me, that the circle's not broken, it's stronger than ever, and that you will stay engaged with the school in the years to come, and that is the most important outcome of all. We're approaching the closing of this ceremony. It's a little bit of a solemn moment to note that graduates of the class of 2015, you're unlikely ever to sit in a room again with as large a group of people who are this talented, who know you this well, who like you this much. But you're not leaving them. You're taking them with you, and we from the school are going to come out and see you where you choose to work and live. We will follow your progress with great hope. We'll celebrate your successes with great joy. I'll probably take some of the credit for that too, and you can push back. But this isn't goodbye. It is best wishes, class of 2015. Now, we're not quite finished with the celebrations. I hope I will see each of you this evening at the Prudential Skywalk, perhaps you and your families. And for everyone receiving a diploma, I look forward to shaking your hand tomorrow on Killian Court at MIT. To close this ceremony, I'd love the graduates to stand, please. And if you would, face your family and friends and say thank you to them for the role that they've had in bringing you to this place. That's it. That concludes MBA LGO Convocation 2015. Thank you, class of 2015.